Tell you what, I'm going to check Robin keeps an eye on this too. I'm going to check and see how our stuff's coming up here. We should be live and rocking and rolling here on the happy hour huddle. I'm going to make sure I've got my happy hour. It is happy hour. Hope you're doing well. Well, how's it going? Hey there. And I'm super excited that you've joined me again for another happy hour huddle. And I got the thumbs up from upstairs that we're good and we're live. So awesome. I'm just checking there. And hey, feel free to give a shout out, comment on Facebook because, well, we love having you. I'm working with some new products we got here, some cool stuff. And like always, it's great to have you here. And I'm excited to have you join the happy hour huddle. You know, lately I've been doing a deep dive into, well, one of my big aha moments. Happened a long time ago. And, well, you may have seen my blog recently, and I talked about casting. And this is something we've been going over in the Retriever Revolution, the membership that I'd love to tell you more about. So this all started a long time ago when I was in California. Shortly after I'd left there, my head was spinning, really. I was a young kid, early 20s, trying to make sense out of a lot of dog training information. And I came across a copy of Delma Hazard's notes from her time at Rex's. Handwritten notes. I've got a stack of them from different people that had kind of circulated around, and you felt like you were reading the deep sea scrolls. I mean, they were scribbled and just like any of us would be in the heat of the moment. But the thing that really struck me was her explanation in her notes about momentum. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a minute. Now, let me move on here. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it, momentum. And how you like our fun stuff here? We got this. I can point at the momentum thing and trying to get high-techy on you. Well, what is momentum? The definition of momentum, one of them, is the force or speed of movement. Okay? And we think of momentum when it comes to dogs as just speed. You think they've got good momentum. Well, I'm going to tell you a little more about those notes that I read. It was really a different perspective on handling dogs, because you weren't handling dogs from point A to point B without any other information. The way I describe it is you could have 5 dogs at the same spot needing to go to the same destination, and there may be 5 variations of casts depending on momentum. What got them there? So it's their force or speed of movement. Now, some of it's just psychological force or speed. How bad do they want to go to a certain spot or area? And is it where you want them to go? Because if their momentum's in the right direction, well, we're not talking about casting, are we? But when you need to alter momentum, when you need to get a dog to go from point A to point B, more so than where he is, the understanding of momentum and how fast is the dog going there? How determined is he to go to us in a certain direction? And what do I need to do to change their momentum in the direction that I want them to go. It's a little bit of a different perspective because well, you're going to want to just say, well, it's like a sheet of graph paper. The dog's at point A, point by the M is where we need to go. So the dog's over here by the speaker, and that's just an angle back, right? Well, yeah, that's a literal cast, but you have to take into account the momentum. Momentum is all the factors drawing a dog to a certain place and how strong they are and how determined a dog is to go in the direction he's going. And when you started to look at it that way, then your casts, whether you made a big step, a subtle step, a verbal, a silent, there are many options. Sometimes you undercast because you think a dog's momentum is more back and forth. So you don't want to get too much lateral movement. Sometimes the dog doesn't want to change direction. And so on and so forth. And so all of those scenarios are going to give you the information necessary for you in a split second, right? To make a decision on what information do I need to give this dog in order to get to the spot I want to get to. Let's move a little further with this. Oh, we got a little problem here. Hold on just a second. We got a camera problem. So I'm just going to give me 1 second to take care of that. And I'm coming back, I promise. Hey, there I am. No, I didn't take a pee break. Well, let me get back to it. So we talked about momentum. That was what we just wrapped up. So don't, hope I didn't lose you there. I had a battery die and, well, you try to think of a lot of things, including momentum, right? So I gave you some scenarios. Let's talk about, well, in this month in the Retriever Revolution and in my membership and in my blog, I talked about casting. But you needed to understand these things to understand really the casting part of this whole thing. Because it's not, these aren't robots. And neither are we, for that matter. So again, I want to talk about casting. Casting is, well, very simply a hand signal that's giving the dog information. But it's much deeper than that. It's how big do you make a step? Do you add voice? What is your arm position? Because you may be here, and I'm because I don't have a ton of camera space, I can't show you a really good casting, but it can be straight up, subtle angle, big angle, a step. There's many options. But I want to talk about this a little bit more because let's talk about it from the dog's perspective. What is good casting? What does that mean when a dog casts well? Does it mean that he takes every cast at the exact direction that you gave, the exact degree? Well, is that realistic? Probably not. What I think of good casting is when a dog is willing to yield. In other words, defer to me when I want to change his mind and his, yes, momentum. It's up to me to accurately interpret what the factors are and give him the information necessary. Because, well, this is all about communication. So, if a dog is willing to defer to me and change his mind, I think, for the most part, it's good casting. It's up to me to read their momentum and give them the information necessary to get the result I'm looking for. Now, I think when you the reason it was an aha moment for me is because, yeah, I wanted to say dogs at point A, we got to go to point B. It's just, you've got one option. Well, when I started to look at that and dog training in general with a little deeper insight, more from the dog's perspective, well, that's when it started to make a little more sense. So in this month, and what I want to talk to you a little about, well, there's the mechanics of casting, a lot of which is our mechanics. Finger points at me or you in the mirror. And then obviously the dog. We break it down to that degree because giving the appropriate information is where it all starts, because it all starts with good communication. So that's why the handler's first. Something Rex told me a long time ago, and I believe it deep in my soul, is that the dogs are only going to be as good as we are. So the first thing is to take our errors out of it. So in the context of tonight's discussion, our errors are in relation to casting mechanics, some of which is our understanding of what cast to give. And then the next thing is giving it in a clear and concise manner that the dog can understand what it is we're saying. So, well, in my first week of this month, I gave my group, my members, some homework. And I wanted them to go through all of the mechanics of casting in a mirror, working on straight ups, angles, slight steps, the management of your weight distribution so that you don't rock one way before you go the other way. And I said, I want you to do, this is like calisthenics or exercises. I wanted them to do 3 reps, and I wanted them to do a straight up, an angle, and over. Okay, and both sides. And I wanted them to practice getting their arm really concise. And now I did another blog a while back about managing your weight. It's another good one, all in relationship to casting. So improving your casting mechanics is where it starts. That's number one, because it starts with us, and as does all of this stuff. Then there's lots of drills and stuff we can do to improve our dog's casting. Well, here's a few of them. It starts with the basic 3-handed casting drill that we do before we even get to T-work. Then you get into the more sophisticated wagon wheel casting drills. 8-handed casting, 2-handed back drill. Now, these are all interesting drills. One is intended to teach them all the cast. The other one is intended to teach them to go to really straight back and understand how to do that. And I love a split casting drill because that takes some of these directional change casts as well as the pattern line casting and emphasizes carrying a cast, not just 10 yards, but 40, 50 yards. Now, the last two, Chinese drills, multiple blinds, you're thinking, well, that's about a lot of things. It is, but I found that to be one of the best casting exercises after maybe I've reviewed all these other guys. Cheating singles. You're thinking, wait a minute, why are you doing cheating singles as a casting drill? Well, when you do sophisticated cheating singles, you are stopping and casting, and it's in the context of land-water interfaces, and there's a lot that goes on there. Well, there's the classic, get your butt in the water, get your moon in the lagoon cast. Then there's the stay in the water. Then there's the get back in the water on a reentry. And those all are hand signals, sometimes with voice, sometimes without voice. And that's a whole nother subject. And then sometimes there's a cast to get out of the water, to give them permission. A lot of information, a lot of different casting drills. So I want you to just think about that a little bit more. And what I want you to think about more than anything is how we, me, you, can be a better communicator, a clear communicator, a better mentor. Because there's nothing that's going to make you feel worse than giving your dog misinformation and then correcting your dog for not understanding what you're saying. That to me just, it makes my stomach sick when I think of doing that. Because, and I've done it, but I'm trying to keep you from doing it. I'm trying to tell you the better communicator you can be through clear casting and teaching these skills, well, it's going to pay big dividends for you. So, great having you. I wanted to talk about really the understanding of momentum. And, you know, the more I think about this, wow. I'm going to put together, this is a thought that Robin and I have been discussing, some free training to go into this casting thing to greater degrees, to talk about, well, things like the difference between silent and verbal. I'll say one of them is the steering wheel, one's the gas pedal. What do they mean? The difference between primary and secondary parts of a cast. How to step. How to take into account when a dog is further out, the time it takes for the dog to hear something verbally versus seeing you actually put your hand up in the air. All of these things are part of casting. And we really have been working on it hard here in the Retriever Revolution in our membership. And I've been getting really good feedback. People are really enjoying it, and they're looking at things in a different way. And I know it's going to help them and their dog. So I'd like to put together, and we're going to put together a free training opportunity. Now, you'll want to keep an eye out. If you haven't already, subscribe to the email list. You'll get information there. Keep an eye out on Facebook. We're going to provide some free stuff that I think you're going to enjoy. And I just want to tell you, I really do love working with you, and I look forward to talking to you more in the future. And I really want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey and being in really one of the greatest hobbies you can ever have. You've heard me say this before, and I'll say it again. I had a good friend tell me, in the department store of life, this is the toy department. So we're going to have fun. We're going to smile. I like to smile about this, and I want you to as well. But you're going to smile more if you have more success and you achieve some of your goals. And it starts with some of these fundamental understanding of how things work, how dogs think, and how to improve your mechanics and your dog's mechanics. And above all, be a better communicator. So, well, that's what I've got to say, and I hope you have a great day. And, well, thanks again. I didn't even get a chance to take a sip on my evening. Robin made me a nice cocktail. And, well, it tastes good. And there's nothing I love more than talking dogs with you. And, like I said, keep your eye out. I think you're gonna be interested in what some of this free training is going to offer. Okay? Well, take care. Have a good night and great training, and stay safe out there, everybody. Bye-bye.